So in the last video, I kept on making the statement that people do think in different ways. And that's another point of contesting or contestment that people will make. Maybe I'll just post, because I actually wrote for, that's my little charger thing actually. Let me, just a second, so sorry. Let me plug this into the charger over here. Don't know why I didn't, oh, probably because I'm recording. There we go. I wrote a philosophical paper, very amateur philosophical paper for a publication here on campus where I talk about this stuff. So you know what, I'm going to put that, I'm going to make sure that I'm able to put that up. I'm not sure what the rules are on that, but I'm thinking that actually is a pretty good, I don't know, I'm pretty darn technical and philosophically, but it's probably not anything worse than what, say, my original type videos were like. Maybe a little bit worse. So, but I talk about some of that in there. So I guess I think that's really the bottom line of my reply to criticism of the MBTI. Firstly, the MBTI the test is not BS. It's not, and I don't, I guess that's one thing, and Celebrity Types has already talked about this, but it's really quite remarkable and actually inexcusable, frankly, that this fallacy is made over and over and over again in the arguments against the MBTI, where they will say that it is devoid of meaning, or it is useless, or it is only good for entertainment. And they will say that it is totally meaningless precisely because it uses black and white dichotomies. And Celebrity Types talked about this. It's a brilliant observation, and you see it everywhere, and it really frustrates me. And so, obviously, I am not composed here. I need to make sure that I'm really reviewing all the evidence and not letting my obvious personal involvement get in the way. But yes, they will say that it is totally meaningless, 100%, only good for entertainment, when clearly the evidence and research says, well, every test and things have said that this has some validity, that this is lining up. Even if they say that even if some studies apparently say that it's more valid than others, but they all say that there's some validity. So if you're really going to be actually professional about this, then you can't say it's totally meaningless. You have to say that this is the amount of validity found by these tests. I'm going to go on a little rant here that maybe will make me sound like I'm kind of crazy. But I'm an INFJ, so it's okay, I guess. I identify with that. Whenever people will bring up studies about the MBTI and about its validity, and I don't understand that. And this really this actually goes for anything. And this is probably because I identify very well with INFJ, and I very strongly with my tertiary TI. That's become, that's something that I really grip onto. And Type Tips has already talked about the fact that I do often very naively grip onto, but I'm very excited about my TI, but it's not the main point. As a result, I think that I naturally tend to be opposed to things that are associated with TE to some degree. But one of those is data that is not thought up by myself. I don't trust studies. Honestly, I don't trust anything other than what I've figured out logically for myself, to be perfectly honest. And I get frustrated when I realize that I haven't questioned something. And so when somebody tries to pull a study, then I immediately I don't understand why it should be naive or why it should be stupid or why it's inappropriate somehow for me to and why other people don't seem to simply ask the obvious question of, okay, that's nice. Who did the study? How did they do the study? I didn't watch them do the study. How can I trust that you're presenting me the facts of the study? How can I trust that so-and-so, wherever they've put the information, how can I trust them? And really, what this ends up amounting to is the fact of the matter that I don't care about your study, which in itself is a problem because, I mean, that's a very valuable way that our society has of transferring information, and it's not fair for me to ever say that, you know, all studies done are untrustworthy. But in some sense, I kind of am saying that, not that they are, but that I'm not going to trust them out of pure principle. So whenever... And I always want to get back to principles and theory behind what's going on. And whenever somebody tries to bring up a study about MBTI, nowhere on my channel have I ever talked about that, ever. I've never brought that up. I always bring up either my own observations and experiences directly, or less likely the observations made by others. But I always try to confirm it with my own reason and my own observations and the trusted observations of others. And I don't like the notions of, quote, studies, because there's so much going on involved in that where things can go wrong, and there's so much structure in order for them to get what they want. And I understand that is to try to, if I may, is generally a very, well, no, I won't say that. I don't think that's quite accurate. But I was going to say it's a more TE thing, but you know what? I don't think that's quite. I'm sure you know what I mean or what would drive me to say that anyway. Because I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying not to hold back what I'm thinking in my head, but I'm gonna withdraw that potential statement. What was I talking about? I was talking about studies. I hope you know what I mean by that. I'm talking about statistics. Maybe I don't even know what I mean by that. It's just an observation. You've probably noticed. So on that side of criticisms where they're talking about it's not valid or it is valid, I don't care. Because I've analyzed it for myself. So, you know what, I think I'll wrap up this video with something that I'll probably make another video on that's more formal, because this is something that is very important to me, and I think is very important to the MBTI criticism in general, is that the criticisms, you know, not all of them, but a lot of them, remarkably a lot of them, are just simply, they are not well informed on the theories, because they don't take, you know, of course they don't take the time to go on YouTube and look up videos by these random people who are hobbyists, but in some sense they should, which is a very high, rigorous level. But in my mind, it's kind of like, well, then don't criticize as blanketly as you are if you're not going to go and do... well, just read Young anyway. I mean, like Vox, they totally, it's kind of like, why that video is not a laughing stock, I don't understand, because they said some things about, they made some claims about Young and Myers-Briggs that were not correct. But anyway. Whenever people are pointing to certain studies and things, that doesn't really do anything for me. What I'm interested in is principles and things that I can understand myself. And so that's why I'm much more interested in the notion that, don't you think that human beings are too complicated? And that's why I focus much more on that, rather than... And I don't even, actually, now that I think about it, I don't even know why I'm bringing up studies, because that's much more applying to those who are concerned with the type indicator as a test and an instrument, whereas I'm clearly much more interested in these theories, which aren't really testable, which is another point that, as I understand it, my notion is that really the desire to find that kind of objective certainty is itself a bias described by the system. So if it were possible to test for it, in my mind, that would almost be a hit against the theory, because the desire to test for the, and I don't think that's quite true, I'm still thinking that out, but the desire to test for the theory, I think, is a more TE thing. I might be wrong, because I know that there's INTPs who experiment, but I think it's in a different way. The desire for that kind of objective certainty from a study, for that kind of, for the validity that comes from saying that, look, this many people objectively have validated the results. The data shows this, whereas I think that an INTP would be much more of the nature of this experiment itself is logically thus that we've been able to show principally, we've been able to show by principle that because this got a yes or no on this test, this isn't making sense what I'm saying. So it's probably weird. I don't know. I think I'm going to wrap it up for this video, guys. This will probably be the last one I make tonight. I don't know how I came off in these videos. I don't know if I hope I don't sound like I went on this trip and then came back and have had like a nervous breakdown, and so I'm like making all these videos where I'm just kind of ranting. Yeah, that's probably how it's going to look, but whatever. Who knows? Maybe that has happened. I hope not. But I don't know why. I just felt like I wanted to do it more in this way. It's been therapeutic for me, so that's all that matters, I guess. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later. See ya.